on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Making headlines first at 9. New promises on mini polls. Subject Minister reveals Gazette notification on local government elections to be issued next week. Who wants a new constitution? Mahasangha once again saying no to a new constitution. For a greener world, President assures to take stern legal action against forest destroyers. Economy on track. Central Bank Governor cautiously optimistic over strong reserves position with first installment of Hambantara deal in the pipeline. Making headlines overseas. Missile tracking drill. South Korea, the United States and Japan unite to counterattack North Korea. Bringing you news from home and across the world, this is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7. Good evening, I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. President Maithripala Sirisena says that legal action will be taken against those who destroy the country's forest cover. He expressed these views addressing the 27th session of the Asia Pacific Forestry Commission held at the BMICH today. Representatives of 31 countries participated at the 27th session of the Asia Pacific Forestry Commission, which commenced in Colombo today. This year's session of the Commission was held under the theme Regional Strategy and Action Plan for Forest and Landscape Restoration.
Sri Lanka is among the countries that signed the agreement on climate change during the 2016 Paris Climate Change Conference. During this year's UN General Assembly in New York, I clearly stated in my speech that the Sri Lankan government is bound to implement the Paris Treaty. The law will be strictly enforced upon racketeers who engage in deforestation. We see that the climate change is affecting most part of the world as never before.
In the meantime, the President participated in the opening of the new epilepsy ward at the Colombo National Hospital this afternoon. Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government Faiz Mustafa says the gazette pertaining to local government elections will be issued next week. The minister went on to say that elections will consequently be held in January.
A special meeting was chaired by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Temple Trees today pertaining to holding the much-delayed local government elections. Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government Faiz Mustafa was also present at the meeting. Members of political parties such as General Secretary of UPFA, Minister Mahinda Amaravira, General Secretary of SLFP, Minister Duminda Disanayaka, UNP General Secretary, Minister Kabir Hashim, Leader of the JVP, Anurukumar Disanayaka, Minister Rauf Hakim, MP Douglas Devananda, Mano Ganeshan, T. Digambaran and many others also participated. Speaking to Other Derana, Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government Faiz Mustafa said the election will be held in January once the two Pradesh Sabhas of Nuwara and Ambagamua are divided into 6 Pradesh Sabhas as per the request of estate communities. Meanwhile, views were expressed on local government elections at several media briefings.
Minister Faiz Mustafa says that the elections will be held in January, but it is clear that the government is afraid to hold elections. I have a Pakistani newspaper. It says that the chairman of the election commission is the one to go to courts asking for elections to be held. It is their election commission which goes to the Supreme Court before the public. That doesn't happen in our country.
කොමිෂන් සභා එහෙම දෙයක් අද අපේ රටේ නැහැ. අධිකරණයට ගිහලා රිට් නියෝගයක් ගන්න පුළුවන් ඇමතිවරයාට එරේ වහම ඡන්දයට අවශ්‍ය කරන පසු.
A writ order can be taken against the minister demanding that an environment be created for elections to be held. Otherwise, the chairman of election commission cannot have this done. He should either fight for this or resign from his post so that this delay for election can be highlighted internationally.
ලබා ගත හැකි. ඉස්සෙල්ලා කිව්වා දෙසැම්බර්.
They first said it will be held in December, then in January, and then in February. Minister Faiz Mustafa should say that he will resign if elections are not held in January.
මම ඉල්ලා අස්වනවායි කියන.
Issuing a statement today, the Mahasangh expressed the view that some of the proposals made by the Constitutional Reforms Steering Committee recently seeks to jeopardize the future peaceful coexistence of Sri Lankans. The statement alleges that these proposals are in direct support of realizing the separatist aims of interested parties. Convening a media briefing today, Buddhist clergy representing several chapters said they will hand over their set of views to the President and Prime Minister soon.
බලන්න මේ ව්‍යවස්ථා සම්පාදන කාර්යයට ජාතික මතවාදයක් තියෙන විද්වතුන් එකතු කරගෙන නැහැ.
Scholars who have national ideologies are not included in this constitutional making process, and no one knows what kind of document they are trying to present in Parliament at the end of this month. We emphasize that if they are focusing on any constitutional change, it should only be limited to the electoral system. We are informing the government, President and Prime Minister that all attempts towards constitutional reforms should be suspended.
අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා ගරු අගමැතිතුමා ප්‍රධාන රජයට අපි ශාසනාලයෙන් දන්වා සිටිමු.
දැන් අපි කියන්නේ මූලික වශයෙන් තියෙන ඔය
There is no need to touch upon the matters such as unitary state. Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike also brought in a set of proposals regarding constitutional reforms. These new proposals contain some of those old proposals. It had the words United Sri Lanka. At the time, we as Mahasangha opposed those words along with other parties. And they have also made a misinterpretation of Tamil word Orumittanadu, which originally means a country that has been divided into separate administrative units. We don't know whether this word would eventually lead to the establishment of a federal constitution.
ෆෙඩරල් රාමුවකට මේ ව්‍යවස්ථාව අවසාන වෙනකොට යන්න බැරි නෑ කියන එක. මේ රටේ මහා සංඝරත්නයට
The Mahasangh of the country will then have to come forward to defeat the constitution. We don't believe that this bill will receive 2/3 of majority in parliament.
තුනෙන් දෙකක් දැන් ඡන්ද ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා. නෑ තවම එහෙම මල්වත්තේ මහානායක හාමුදුරුවෝ
Neither of the chief prelates from Malvatta or Askiri chapters have yet expressed their views on whether they are in favour or against constitutional reforms. However, it was under their permission that the two working committee meetings convened and decided on issuing a statement. The chief prelate of Malvatta chapter will soon arrive in the country, and all four chief prelates will unitedly express their stance.
එකතු වෙලා ප්‍රකාශනයකුත් කරේ කියලා අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා. පළාත් සභාවලට 13 වෙනි
As per powers given to the local governments under 30th Amendment, having an executive president will secure the country in the future.
ආරක්ෂාව තියෙනවා. විධායක ජනාධිපති ක්‍රමය
He only said that the executive presidency should be abolished. I believe he would be the first to talk against many of these constitutional proposals.
මේ ව්‍යවස්ථාව ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කළ යුතුයි කියලා කතා කරන්නේ මං හිතන්නේ.
Meanwhile, the organisation to protect the motherland requests not to criticise the Mahasangha and the Dalada traditions just because opposing views were raised on the constitutional reform process. Members representing the organisation made these remarks at a media briefing held at the Abhayarama temple in Narayanpeta today.
We are not against changing the constitution if there are any shortcomings in it. But we will raise opposition if they are trying to introduce amendments that are not suitable for the country. The working committees have taken these decisions under the purview of the chief prelates.
සම්මත කරගන්නට මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක් ඇමතිවරයෙක්
අංග සභාවේ තීරණයට
The chief prelates would have to agree with the decision taken by the Sangha Sabha. That is the view of that particular Buddhist sector. But the Prime Minister was troubled when that statement was issued. He even came forward to criticize the newspaper and electronic media institutions that published the news.
ජන මතය පරාජය කිරීම සඳහා එතුමා ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Somebody has brainwashed the Prime Minister saying this is not a working committee meeting by the Sangha Sabha but a meeting held by Diyavarani Nilame. That is why the criticism was levelled at the Nilame. Conduct necessary investigations if there are any fraudulent activities.
Meanwhile, Venerable Professor Madhurabhyatissa Thera requests that measures not be taken to establish a federal system through the proposed new constitution. He expressed these views addressing a media briefing organised by Elia organisation in Colombo today.
Last night we held discussions with President for around 2 hours. The President is of the view that they claim there is some shortcoming for minority communities of the country. They are not happy and something must be done about that. We are of the view that they cannot be pleased by giving powers to politicians. They can only be made happy by taking care of their health, education and land requirements. Minister Derana has recently stated that measures will be taken to elect a Tamil president in the country. We also say that a person from minority community can be president, as he is also a citizen of this country. There is no issue about that. The issue is about dividing the country. There is only 48% of Tamils in the north. 52% of Tamils live outside the north. In this sense, how can they have an issue that is not felt by these people out of the north? If any of them do not enjoy benefits enjoyed by Sinhalese, we will fight for them. But what they are asking for is to divide the country. Don't do that to this country.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa meanwhile says the current government is advancing towards constitutional amendments, forgetting their campaign pledges. He expressed these views today after attending a religious function at the Sudarmarama temple in Tissamaharama.
The Prime Minister says this is not a draft bill. He says this is not even an act. The SLFE is starting to replace the committee report with what they claim as views discussed at committee meetings. Nobody has the right to take away the place assigned to Buddhism. When questioned, they claim that these are mere proposals. Why were these proposals brought to Parliament? Why not leave the constitution as it is? The Mahasangha Sabha, comprised of Malvatta and Askira chapters, Ramanya sector as well as Kotte and Rohana chapters, are demanding in union to cease the constitution making process. The government has no mandate to do this. Did they say they will change the constitution? They only said they will abolish the executive presidency. They have forgotten that now and are attempting to change the entire constitution.
Now, in yesterday's installment on First at 9, what makes a constitution and its importance, Kenyan academic and expert in constitutional law, Professor Yash Palgai spoke on what direction a country's constitution must take. He said that in order for a nation's constitution to head in the right direction, the diversity of a country must be acknowledged and ensure that all citizens are given equal entitlement. But how does a country go about implementing it? Speaking exclusively to Derana, Professor Guy says the constitution must be set up upon the concept of the citizen instead of a community.
If people broadly agree on this approach, which is something I sense when I read the report of the public consultation, that many who are quoted there or the views are summarized had that sort of thing in mind, that we are all Sri Lankans. Once there is a broad agreement, then it's relatively easy to put in the constitution. The difficulty might be that if you put this framework or this approach in the constitution and the political parties don't like it, one, it may never get through. Second, if it does go through, I don't know how far the political parties would respect that. And I speak with experience from my own country, Kenya, where we tried very, very hard to build our new constitution on the concept of the citizen and not the community. And so it would run into difficulties, but you have to start somewhere. And I think if your kind of political leaders and other sectors of the communities support that choice, then I think that the technical task of giving effect to it is not that difficult. First thing would be to make a commitment to this approach.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy observed cautious optimism that a stabilization of the economy is on track, supported by reforms to state-owned enterprises, tighter fiscal policy and improvement in quality of reserves. Speaking at a seminar in Colombo, the CBSL governor said $1 billion expected at the end of this year on the Hambantota deal will further strengthen the external reserves position. He expressed possibility for the country to end the year with an overall balance of payment surplus of $2 billion.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy addressed a forum organized by the Shippers Academy of Colombo today on the state of the economy ticking down to budget 2018.
We've averaged a 3.9% growth in the first 6 months of the year. There will be some pickup in the second half of the year, but it's likely to be somewhere between 4 and 4.5. Not enough FDI, mind you, but we've got enough for us to be able to end the year with a surplus about $2 billion in the overall balance of payments. Much of it is borrowed. That's what we have to recognize. External reserves at the end of last year was $6 billion, but around March it dipped down to $5 billion. Now it's up to $7.3 billion. Much of it because of the borrowings that I spoke about. And of course, there's $1 billion in the pipeline on the Hambantota deal, which I think the first installment, the latest I've heard, is likely to come in next month. Not only has the volume of reserves gone up, but the quality has improved. And the Hambantota money will further improve the quality of our reserves.
However, he pointed out that debt dynamics of the country are such that the state can no longer be the lead player in development.
There is no choice. The government has basically maxed out on its credit card. The two pillars have to be exports and FDI. Arguably, the biggest indictment of the policy framework of this country over the last 10-12 years is the fact that the tradable goods sector has gone down from 80% of GDP to 45%. Exports have gone down from 32-33% in 2000 to 12.7% last year. Now, if you allow that to happen and at the same time get up to your noses in foreign debt, that is a really crazy set of policies.
Dr. Kumaraswamy went on to speak of some of the policy measures that the government is undertaking in order to improve monetary policy and fiscal management.
So, as you know, the VAT reform, the new Inland Revenue Act were major achievements that should simplify the structure and widen the base. So we're trying to make sure this time we can at least institutionalize these improvements. Sri Lanka has a Fiscal Responsibility Management Act. It has certain targets in it, but it has absolutely no teeth. So the idea this time is to strengthen the act, to give it some teeth by identifying specific reasons as to why the targets can be breached. On the monetary side, monetary policy side, Central Bank is in the process of introducing a flexible inflation targeting regime. The other thing is we are putting in legal and accountability frameworks to support this flexible inflation targeting regime. The most extreme cases, the central bank governor has to resign if you miss the inflation target. But there will certainly be that kind of accountability.
Sri Lankan stocks touched a one-week closing high today as investors picked up shares of beverages and telecom companies. The Colombo Stock Index finished 0.3% firmer at 6,590, its highest close since the 16th of October. Let's now cross over to Imesh Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange for a detailed report.
Top 5 gainers of the day were Ascot Holdings, Ceylon Beverage, Guest Etna, Serendip Engineering Group and Anilana Hotels, while the top 5 losers were Adam Capital, Lucky Lanka Non-Voting, Bansai Royal Resorts, Asia Asset Finance and Hey Carb.
Back to one of our local news now. United Nations resident coordinator in Sri Lanka, Una Macaulay, emphasises that students and youth have nothing to lose by joining efforts to achieve the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals adopted by countries in 2015. Speaking at the launch of the Sustainable Development Goals Action Campaign, she also asserted that the SDGs are not goals for the UN or the government, but for the public as a whole.
The Sustainable Development Goals Action Campaign was launched today under the patronage of Minister of Education Akila Viraj Karyavasam and UN Resident Coordinator in Sri Lanka, Una Macaulay. Under the initiative, 25 student-led projects towards achieving sustainable development goals chosen from across the country will receive funds and support from the campaign.
I think that young people become very enthusiastic about things and often lose interest, especially if they've got A-levels and other things that may, for the time being, be more important. But perhaps more importantly is through this project, a lot of young people, along with their teachers, will educate themselves. So I hope that we generate enthusiasm. I would love to see it continue, and I think if there's seed money and there's mentoring for the young people and their teachers, that will encourage sustainability. It will encourage them to think about their project with their teachers, with their communities. The learning doesn't get undone.
Speaker of Parliament Karujai Surya says that the statement made by parliamentarian Vimal Veerawangsa that Parliament should be bombed is a threat to the existence of the democracy of the Parliament and the protection of the lives of the representatives of the people. He said this is issuing a special statement to media today. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
The fundamental rights petition filed by former director of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, Arjun Aloysius, appealing the suspension of the company's license to act as a primary dealer of the central bank, was taken up at the Supreme Court today. According to the Additional Solicitor General, however, the company cannot file such a case as Perpetual Treasuries Limited is a subsidiary. The Southern Province Unemployed Graduates Union today launched a protest against the Southern Provincial Council on alleged claims of employment through political appointments. Protesters claimed that graduates are losing employment opportunities owing to actions of the council. A 43-year-old woman survived an elephant attack in Kahatagasdigiliya, Anuradhapura this morning. As per reports, the woman was on her way to work by motorcycle when she was charged by a wild elephant.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
South Korea, the United States and Japan commenced a missile tracking drill in preparation for any missile or nuclear threats from North Korea. The exercise is being held off the coasts of South Korea and Japan.
Korea's Defense Ministry said that the two-day exercise mobilizes Aegis combat system-equipped ships from each of the countries. The drills have been taking place every few months following an agreement made during a security consultative meeting between South Korea and the United States last year.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across the world.
The Chinese Communist Party confirmed President Xi Jinping's status as China's most powerful ruler since Mao Zedong by formally writing his name into the party constitution prior to today's close of the party congress in Beijing. More than 2,300 delegates voted unanimously to include a constitutional reference to, quote, Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, unquote. Catalan President Carles Puigdemont chaired a cabinet meeting today amid a move by the Spanish government to impose direct rule on Catalonia, sacking the regional government and forcing elections to counter a drive for independence. The Spanish Senate plans to vote on implementing direct rule on Friday. Brazilian police arrested a couple over strangling a pregnant mother and performing an improvised cesarean operation to steal the unborn child from her womb. The couple fled with the newborn child aboard a boat and were apprehended when they disembarked in the Brazilian city of Itapiranga. The baby was admitted to hospital and later released into the custody of an aunt.
You are watching Sri Lanka's trusted news brand, Other Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. India's cricket selection panel led by MSK Prasad yesterday announced the country's 16-player squad for the first two matches of the three-test series against Sri Lanka. The series is scheduled to commence on the 16th of November.
Amplifying the strength of the squad, Murali Vijay, who missed out on India's tour of Sri Lanka this year due to an injury, is recalled for the position of the opening batsman, resulting in the eviction of Akshar Patel, who took part in the India tour of Sri Lanka at Pallekele. Ravindra Jadeja and Ishant Sharma are also nominated for the upcoming Test series. Meanwhile, international media report that India's captain Virat Kohli has requested leave from the Board of Control for Cricket in India, citing personal reasons.
Real Madrid striker Cristiano Ronaldo was crowned world's best player for the second consecutive time at FIFA Best Awards Gala held in London yesterday.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Barcelona's Argentine forward Lionel Messi, who has won the Ballon d'Or 5 times, and Paris Saint-Germain's Brazilian forward Neymar emerged runners-up for the award upon votes of national team coaches and captains as well as the media and fans. The award for the best female player was claimed by Netherlands' Lieke Martens. Meanwhile, Real Madrid's French coach Zinedine Zidane and coach of the Dutch women's national team Sarina Wiegman were named best managers, while Buffon won the award for the best goalkeeper.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Let's now cross over to Southern Upeka at the Other Derana Weather Centre with your forecast for the next 24 hours.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, temperatures for tomorrow are expected to be around 28 degrees Celsius in the western half of the country. The east coast won't be as warm as it was in the past few days, only hitting a maximum of 30 degrees Celsius in the north. Cooler temperatures in the low 20s will continue in the central hills. Now, a low pressure zone will form across most parts of the island during the latter half of the day, bringing widespread showers and thunder showers. That's it from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your City by City forecast.
And before we go, we'd like to take you to the village of Galathar in Kurunagala, whose residents continue the ancient art of Pamaira leaf craft, creating watapat used as fans by Buddhist clergy, as well as baskets, mats and decorations. While slumping market prices threaten this industry, the helping hand from authorities will surely revive not only these villages' livelihoods, but also part of our culture. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.